Are you scared?
Am I in the right studio?
I'm scared. Daddy.
Help me, Daddy.
Help. My name is Kat.
I'm Hayley.
And welcome to our Halloween episode of Night Classy, the podcast where two teachers unwind, sip wine, and each teach a lesson we can't teach at school. What are we drinking, Hayley?
We are drinking a Boda Box still. Somehow it's lasted us from the last emergency episode that we recorded. It is a Pinot Noir award-winning, pairs well with everywhere it says, including Halloween costumes.
Including Halloween costumes. And we are dressed in our Halloween costumes.
Oh, yeah. We went all out.
We went.
Well, you did. I did.
I went a little bit all out, and I'm really dreading washing my face tonight because there's fake blood covering it and black eyeshadow that I used as contour.
I noticed that. I was like, did you look up a tutorial on how to do it?
No, I also don't do, also, by the way, I'm a vampire. And right. You are.
I'm like a 70s disco person.
Yes. And I didn't look up, and I never really wear makeup. Like I wear some bronzer and mascara usually. And so I don't know how to do makeup. I don't YouTube. I don't TikTok. I don't know how to do makeup. And
she's one of those girls who just got so lucky with like how her face was made that she doesn't even need makeup.
Plus a lot of fake tan. But anyway,
fake tan is amazing.
Fake tan makes it so you don't have to wear makeup.
Yes. Thank you for turning me on to that. Shout out to you.
Yeah. Thank you. You're welcome. But anyway, I got to use all the colors of eyeshadow that I've never touched, which include two colors, black and burgundy. And I just like smeared them all over my face, and now they're like dripping down my face. So
yeah,
it's going
looks
well.
Really good. It looks like a realistic vampire.
Yeah, a vampire that like crawled out of a grave and then walked through the rain.
Yeah, you look dead. You look good.
Thank you. That's what I was going for.
Dead and good. Good and dead.
Yes, good and dead. It's going really well today. So happy Halloween, everybody.
Yes, the best holiday of them all, in my opinion.
I agree. It's my favorite holiday for sure.
What has been like your favorite costume that you've ever dressed up as over Halloween?
That's hard. I should have come prepared.
I know. I just thought of that now, and I can't even really answer my own question.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
When I was like 12 or 13, I was a bearded lady, and it was the best.
Nice.
Yeah.
So did you like glue it onto your face, or did you have
I wore like, we found like this like poofy pink 80s prom dress at Goodwill, and I wore that and then just like a big fake brown beard. And it was the best costume ever. It was so
comfortable. Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah. What about you?
Okay. In college, I went to see my like younger siblings trick or treat, and I was Frida Kahlo, so I had like a unibrow and everything. It was official. But then I was going out with friends later on, and I was like, I'll just go as Frida, like it'll be like people know who I am. But then I got home and started drinking, and I was like, I want to be cute, like
I want a unibrow.
Right.
Yeah.
So I took the unibrow off, and then I was, God, this is like almost embarrassing because I love Halloween so much. This was such a cop out. I was just a prom queen, so I like had a cute dress and a like prom queen sash.
I think that's fair. That's like last year when we went out for Halloween and I didn't have a costume, so I put on a silver tube top and tied a 10-cent like a piece of paper around my neck that said 10 cents, and I went as a dime, and it was the worst.
You looked cute though. You looked cute. That's all that matters.
I looked like I didn't have a costume.
Well, yes,
and I didn't.
You nailed it.
I nailed that. Yeah. I went as someone who didn't plan ahead.
I went as Catwoman, and it was just a one-piece like black suit, and it was great because it was comfortable and it was warm. It was the best scenario.
You were warm, and I was fucking freezing. It was terrible.
Shivering.
Yeah. Well, what are we doing this Halloween?
Quarantining.
Yeah,
pandemic.
But like at our home party with the 6 of us.
Right. Yes. Okay. So we got a new thing. I don't know if you've heard of it before, but you can use it to like talk to other worlds.
It's called an IG board.
A wee wee.
I think that's it. I think it's a wee wee board.
Yeah, you pee on the wee wee board and then it tells you if you're pregnant or not.
You gotta lube up the board so that the planchette like glides.
Yeah, so that something happens. We got a
Or
wee
you
wee
just
board.
gotta show the demons you really don't give a fuck. Like,
Yeah.
don't play with us. We'll pee on you.
I mean, it doesn't take much for me to wet my pants.
Same.
So a wee wee board will be no different.
But yeah, we're gonna wee wee board in our really scary attic. We're gonna light some candles. I got a cool new prop.
Oh my God. Yeah, you
Halloween.
did. It's scary.
It's cool.
When do you get it?
It comes on Monday.
And what is it?
It's a doll.
Oh God, horror.
No, another fantastic podcast, Drinking the Kool-Aid, did a giveaway with this artist, Breathless Beauty, or I guess her company would be called Breathless Beauties, but she makes these dolls into like horror movie type things, and they were giving one away, and her name was Jane Doe, and she's like an autopsy corpse, and I entered it, and I
That's
won
so
her,
perfect.
and I'm so excited.
How does it feel to be like one of those people who wins things?
I know.
That's so crazy.
I literally won an Instagram giveaway.
You're a winner.
I'm a winner.
You don't need to do anything else. I think
Yeah.
you're done.
I think I made it. Also,
Yeah.
like, I always get tagged in Instagram giveaways, and I'm like, oh, okay, whatever, you're not going to win. But this time I won. And I'm
Yeah, you
excited.
did it.
Yeah.
With the help of, did you tag anyone else? Like, was it one of those things?
I tagged a couple people. Well, I tagged Alec because I also made him enter so that we'd have a better chance of winning. And I entered with Night Classy's Instagram, so I'd have a third chance of winning. But
it worked out.
It worked out. And I tagged my friend Drew. Shout out Drew, because I knew she would actually like it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
I
Wow.
had to like text my brother and be like, hey, you know that dead doll corpse I tagged you in?
You
That
could've
was
just
just a
tagged
prop
Hayley.
for Kat. You
Yeah,
tagged
what the
Hayley, didn't you?
Yeah, but you can tag the same person again.
Oh, okay,
I
you
thought
did
they-
tag
I
me.
would think they would think it was rigged. So I wanted to tag people outside of
I
the group.
kind of rigged it, but so I'm
Yeah. You
sorry. I'm
100%
sorry drinking
rigged
the
it.
Kool-Aid.
So where is your doll? Where is Jane Doe going to live?
So I was recently watching an episode of My Strange Addiction where the woman had a baby doll named God, I don't remember its name, but
I thought you were going to say it was named God.
no,
It's like creative.
his name was not God, but he came with Voy. It had a weird name. But she took him everywhere, and he slept in bed with her, and she made her boyfriend bond with him. And I think I'm going to do something like that where I just become addicted to Jane Doe and take her with me and treat her like a real child.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would expect nothing less.
That's my plan anyway.
So do you have a registry, like a baby registry? Like, do you need a stroller or like some clothes?
You know, I already have a stroller.
Okay.
But maybe, I mean, you can never have too many baby clothes.
Yeah, just see when she gets here and then see what you need and let me know.
Okay, I'll let you know. Thank you for your support. Alec was not as supportive when I told him my plan. So
He's just scared, first time dads.
yeah. He's got cold feet. It's all right. He'll come around. Women become mothers when they get pregnant. Men become fathers when they see the baby. That's from Juno.
Oh my God. Yeah, right. Like she gets to the house and she has porcelain feet and you're like, oh, she got your cold feet.
She's like literally dead. It's perfect. But yeah, we're gonna have some fun props. We're gonna play the Ouija board. I swear I'm not actually gonna treat my doll like a human, but
That's what you say now.
I might put her on display year round. We'll see.
Yeah, we need a glass case and then
Ooh, yeah,
we
like an
move her.
Annabelle case.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Good,
we need the
good call.
Annabelle case.
I think we need the Annabelle. I want a real haunted doll.
Both. Oh, we need the case and the doll.
Yes, both. But yeah, that's all I got on that.
Oh, I do have something funny. My friend Alex Tron, my elementary school best friend, she texted me today and the text just said Addie and Eve. And so I was so confused. Yeah, I was so confused. And so I Googled Addie and Eve and didn't really find anything.
Oh, I know what this is. When
What
we were
is
trying
it?
to figure out the female equivalent of Adam and Steve.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
then Addie and Eve. Addie
I
and
know,
Eve. That's a
that's
good.
so
Yeah,
good.
she's smart.
I know. She's super smart. So
Yeah.
Addie and Eve and Adam and Steve. There you go.
There you go. Can we get shirts to say it is Addie and Steve?
Oh
Or
my gosh. Yes.
Addie and what the fuck? Addie and
Eve, Adam and Steve.
Yeah. We should definitely get shirts that like promote that.
I love that so much.
Me too. I really like that.
Isn't it funny how people will text you things like when they're listening to past episodes and you're like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, they're like, you said that.
The number of times that's happened is embarrassing.
I know.
Also, I feel so bad because I can't listen back to myself speak because I think my voice is so annoying.
It's
and
awful.
so I never listen to the episodes and immediately forget what we said.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Like, okay, everyone, I started a TikTok for Night Classy and I like have to listen back to episodes like extra now. Like I've listened to our episodes, but it's like,
it's cringe.
Yeah. So if you're listening right now, thank you.
Thank you for not hating my accent as much as I do. I never knew I had an accent until I like really listened to myself. And I think you can tell exactly where I'm from. Anyway, is that it?
I think that's it.
I think that's it. Yeah. Well, we breathalyzed.
We did. And I blew a 0.135.
And I blew a 0.133.
So I go first.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, here we go. Tonight's lesson is on sports. Also dance.
Okay.
And a dash of toxic masculinity.
Is it male figure skating?
Oh, that's a good guess. It's not male figure skating.
Is it roller skating?
It is not roller skating.
Okay.
Do you know or have you heard about the day disco died?
No.
Sweet. This is going to be a lot of fun. Alec, have you heard of it before?
No, I've not.
Oh my God. Okay.
Oh my
This
gosh,
is going to be so much fun. Okay. So I'm going to do a really brief history on disco and then we'll get into like the bulk of the lesson.
Okay.
So I'm sure, as you all know, disco was like the most popular genre of music and it really found its peak in the 1970s. Disco as a term is derived from the word discothèque, which in French, it means library of phonograph records. When I read it, I thought it said pornograph records.
I mean, that might be more accurate.
Yeah, it might be. And in this lesson, I will talk about how some people hated discotheque. And I was like, I mean, well, yeah, like if you hate pornography, I guess like you would hate disco. But then I read it again, thank goodness. And it's library of phonograph records.
If you came on this episode and told me it meant library of pornograph records, I wouldn't question you.
Yeah, you'd be like, yeah, everyone knows that.
And then I'd correct how you pronounced it.
Yeah. So yeah, disco was not initially popular like on the radio at all, which is where most people listen to music. There was no just plugging in Spotify or anything like that. Disco was rather played at underground dance clubs, and those were all directed by disc jockeys or DJs. And these underground dance clubs catered to Black people, gay people, and Latino people. Most of the disco's artists and performers were Black, but they did extend to other ethnic groups. But the majority of these artists creating disco music were Black people. And disco is really influenced by upbeat Motown music, choppy beats of funk. And this is a quote from one of my sources: sweet melodies and polite rhythmic pulse of Philadelphia soft soul. And also salsa. So it's like a big jumble of things, and its lyrics are really, like it's just happy, fun music. This whole time doing research, I was thinking of Rayford's.
Yeah. Oh, I miss Rayford's.
Me too.
It's our favorite club
here in Memphis. It's like there are lights everywhere.
Yeah, it's like six. Like you feel like you're stepping back in time. It's like a 60s, 70s club, and they pump it full of like oxygen, and it's like it feels smoky in there, and it's just really cool.
Yeah, it's literally wonderful. A disco.
Yeah, and they have a disco light up floor. It's really fun.
It's the
I miss
best place
it
in
dearly.
Memphis.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we'll be back.
Hopefully.
When the vaccine comes out in 3 weeks. Also, that's
Time
not
is ticking.
true. So
Definitely not true.
Yeah, that's a reference to the debate that just happened. with Trump.
But what the fuck did he call it? Project Warp Speed.
Yeah.
They're on it, you guys.
Operation Warp Speed.
It's gonna give us a vaccine in 3 weeks.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
It sounds exactly like your VCR fast forwarding. That's what it sounds like in the lab.
That's what you hear when they inject it into you, and then you're immune from COVID.
Right. Also VCRs, so you can never use a VCR ever again. But also it's not true. So there's that.
Yeah.
But anyway, disco was very popular in the 1970s, but some people were really big critics of disco. Like they fucking hated disco. And the long story short is that people are homophobic and racist.
I'm shocked.
Right. Yeah. It's
Never heard of that before.
It's much more PC to just cancel disco than it is to just be outwardly racist.
Right.
Because, you know, it was really popular and created by Black people, gay people, and Latino people. Yeah. So since it has roots in Black and Latin music, and was/is just highly popular in gay culture. And also, like, I had to look this up because remember, this was in 1979. And I was like, when was it like officially legal to be gay, like to be outwardly gay? I wasn't really sure. So I looked it up, and it wasn't until 2003 that anti-sodomy laws were ruled unconstitutional.
Yeah.
So you can only imagine how hateful people were in 1979
and just bold about it.
Yeah. And what it was like to be someone who was gay. So basically gay people, Black people, Latinx people who were attending discos were having a shit ton of fun. It was like an underground kind of like exclusive scene. And really, I think people were just really jealous almost. Time magazine also, one of the things they referred to as disco as like when they were describing the music as diabolical thump and shriek.
That sounds amazing.
It is amazing.
Diabolical thump and shriek. It sounds like the monster fuck that Alec just made us listen to.
Yeah. And so, of course, cool people like us love it. But Wet Blankets hated it. And the people, they also hated how disco promoted individual style and just like being who you were.
How dare they?
Wearing what you want to wear? Fuck you.
Yeah. Put on your fucking apron and get back in the kitchen.
Get back
Jesus.
right in the kitchen. Yeah. Be a man.
Yeah.
And the main thing that people really hated disco for was this perception that people had that disco was going to take over and that rock and roll was going to die.
Why can't you have both?
Exactly. Why not both? Because it was threatening to them. And to be fair, like disco was doing really well. One rock station, WKTU-FM, they were based out of New York. They were like just all right when they were a rock station. But then they were like, oh, disco's doing really well. We should just switch over to disco. So they did that. In late 1978, they became the most popular radio station in the US, thanks to playing disco music. So if you're insecure about a plethora of things, including your rock and roll music, then disco is proving to be a threat to you. So they did not want to have both. They thought it's all or nothing. And this is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah, imagine like being so defensive of the type of music you like that you like deny other people the music they like.
Yeah,
Like,
imagine
what?
being so insecure and power hungry that you mask your insecurities as wanting rock and roll to live on and killing disco.
Yeah. But also, to be fair, like they didn't have Spotify. You couldn't just go listen to the music you wanted. You had to listen on the radio.
Okay, yeah, that's
so
true.
like if disco was on every station, I could see being a little mad about that.
That is so true. I did not even think about that.
Yeah.
But I mean, you gotta go with the flow sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta take that rod out of your ass and chill the fuck out.
Yeah, but that is not what happened. The rods are still in thou asses.
Okay.
So now that we're all caught up on disco, let's talk about this death of disco. We are headed to Chicago, Illinois on Thursday, July 12th, 1979 at Comiskey Park. So that is the home of the Chicago White Sox. On this day, they were headed for a doubleheader. So that apparently means, if you're a fan of sports, that there are 2 games in one night. But the Chicago White Sox were heading up against the Detroit Tigers. At this point in time, the White Sox were having a really crappy season. It was like embarrassing. So the night before this event, they had 15,520 fans show up, which seems like a lot. Yeah, it seems like a lot. That's a lot of people. But the arena was built to hold almost 45,000 fans.
Okay.
So they had
that is a little embarrassing.
Yeah, they filled a third of their seats almost.
Also, I can't picture what 15,000 people look like and what 45,000 people look like. It looks like the same in my mind.
Right. Yeah. So let's imagine I'm holding up 3 fingers. This is how much the arena holds. This is how much was actually full, is just 1 finger.
Okay. Now I understand.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get it now.
Math. Yeah. It's okay. So they were like, shit, we need to get our numbers up. We're sucking so bad. They were losing a bunch of games. They just had awful numbers. So they created a promotion to get people into the stadium. The promotion was that on July 12th, 1979, you could enter the game for only 98 cents, which was a quarter of the regular price. But to do that, to get that promotion, you have to bring a disco record, and they would collect the records and then they would destroy them in between games.
It sounds like what I did when I decorated our dining room. I bought 40. They're mostly disco records because they're the colorful, cool ones. And then I threw away all the records and just kept the boxes.
You threw away all the records?
Yeah, what the hell are we going to do with them?
You can make art with them. When I was a kid, we would take glass bowls and you'd heat up the oven and you'd put the record over the bowls and they would melt around it and you could make cool record bowls.
Are you going to do that with 40 records?
You could sell them, but I guess not anymore.
No. Well, some of them are still in the boxes, but the really heavy ones I had to throw away because they were making them fall off the walls.
I was wondering how you were getting them to stick up there. I was like, wow, she really cracked the code on this one.
Yeah,
the ultimate DIY.
No, I've just been throwing away records and keeping the boxes.
Later on, we're going to compare this record burning to Nazi book burning. So
it's the same.
How does that make you feel?
I feel concerned.
Me too. It's okay though. I don't know what to say.
Can I chime in with a stat?
Yes.
So our studio is attached to a baseball park. And so to give you a better sense of what 15,000 people is, only 10,000 people can fit in AutoZone Park that we're attached to here. So if that was completely full, it wouldn't even be.
That helps.
2/3 of what was there.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes it sound like a lot, but it's supposed to sound like a little.
Right. It is a lot compared to Memphis's minor league baseball.
Yeah. Ours is 1/3 of a major league baseball stadium.
Yeah. For the record,
I mean, I've seen a baseball stadium. I can't imagine how big.
No, I know. You just said I don't know how to picture 15,000 people. So I was like, picture the stadium we're attached to.
Well, I don't. Okay. Well, I also. I don't know. It's a lot of people.
It is. It's a lot of people. Basically, they were doing terribly. You don't want to be filling less than 1/3 of the arena. It doesn't matter
but isn't
how
that
many.
pretty typical for baseball? They have so many fucking games.
No.
Maybe the
especially
Mariners
during
just
the
suck,
summer.
but I've been to Mariners games where there's no one there.
Yeah. Also, I don't know. I don't actually know how big the White Sox were, but they're like everyone wants more. So I don't know relatively what that was like, but they're like, we are sucking ass. They're losing a lot of games. Also, it's summertime. All the kids are out of school. That seems like a thing to do. I guess that people like.
I guess.
But
I
they
will
weren't doing
never
it.
take my kid to a baseball game.
I
don't
never
care how bad they want to go.
talk about sports ever again.
No.
This is the death.
This is the
of
last time.
sports. And we're reviving disco.
I like that
We're
idea.
swapping.
Yeah. Swap.
We'll swap a Rooney.
Find the reciprocal. I just quizzed my students on that today.
I don't know what that means. So
Really?
Reciprocal, is that the reciprocal is what you have to times a fraction by or something?
To divide it. Yeah.
I literally don't know.
A reciprocal is like the fraction flipped over.
Oh,
reverse.
okay.
Reverse.
Reverse. Crisscross. Everybody burn your records. Just kidding. Don't do it, please.
It's really bad for the environment.
Yeah. Also for disco. But that's what their plan was. They were going to let people in for 98 cents. If they brought at least one record, they would collect them, destroy them all in between the games. Also during this night, not only was it Disco Demolition Night, but teens also got in for half price. So it's like a 2-for-1 promotion deal.
Were they also handing out free beer?
No, it was not like the Cleveland Indians did. I'm surprised you knew about that.
I know it from another podcast.
Nice. Yeah, so it was not like that. I think the beers were discounted or something like that. I'm not really sure, but there wasn't like a huge promotion.
Okay.
So to promote this night that they're trying to have to get a bunch of people in, the White Sox hired this man called Steve Dahl. So Steve Dahl is a radio personality. At the time, he was a radio broadcaster for the station 97.9 WLUP in Chicago. And to paint a better picture for you of who he is, this guy is pretty much like just known in Chicago for his parodies and his impressions.
Cool.
One of his parodies is Do You Think I'm Disco, based after Ron Stewart's Do You Think I'm Sexy? Okay, so in this parody, Dahl, he mimics what I assume is what he thinks a gay man sounds like.
Oh no, I take back when I said that was cool.
Yeah. He makes fun of personal clothing styles, such as a white 3-piece suit, a gold snaggle tooth. He mocks tight pants that he always stuffs a sock in. He mocks wearing shirts that are partially open without using the buttons. He mocks blow drying one's hair, saying, "Do you think I'm disco? Because I spend so much time blowing out my hair."
It's top-notch humor.
Right. Do you think I'm disco? Because I take care of my hair. Yeah. He says that he, quote, doesn't have a realistic set of values. And he's singing from someone who's at a disco.
Okay.
He makes fun of women in, quote, sleazy dresses who wear sleazy dresses and also wear accessories and makeup.
How dare they?
Right. Yeah.
How I'm wearing literally a slip as a dress.
How dare they try to look good for the men who only want them if they look good, or women.
Right.
Or whoever. He also goes on to say that because he is this guy who is trying to interact with these sleazy women, he can't get their numbers because they're cold as a cucumber. Yeah.
Imagine trying to insult someone by telling them they're cold as a cucumber.
Yeah. Imagine thinking that that's why you can't get a woman.
Right.
And yeah. Okay. So he also makes fun of the exclusivity of disco clubs and the fact that people dance at discotheques. So I feel like really the root of everything he's making fun of doesn't really have a real basis. I think he feels just left out and threatened.
Yeah. How dare people go have fun without straight douchebag men?
Yeah. How dare you have
not allowed to do
style.
that? Yeah.
How dare you
Don't
dance
you know
at a dance
that's
club?
Not okay.
Yeah. And I hate you for it.
Yeah.
I fucking hate you for it. And I'm going to destroy the entire genre.
Yeah.
So that's his perspective.
There you go. I mean, I see his point.
I see it. Do I understand it?
No.
Can I get behind it? Absolutely fucking not. So before he disc jockeyed for this place, WLUP, this is like his origin story. Okay, so Dahl worked for a local rock station in Chicago, WDAI, which we'll come back to. But he was fired from WDAI on Christmas Eve in 1978, the year before this Disco Demolition Night happened, because the station was transitioning to become a disco station.
Oh shit. So he's got a real chip on his shoulder.
Yes. He has, this is not only the origin story of Steve Dahl and his bitterness, but also this is the origin of where we got the phrase chip on the shoulder. He has the chip on the shoulder.
The first one.
Yeah.
This is like the Joker too.
Yeah. So he's very bitter. He got fired from his rock station that is now becoming a disco station, and his like eyes turn to disco, and he's like, oh, like he turns into Hulk basically. So he's losing out to disco, which is already threatening to him, but he also got fired publicly, and people are like following his story now. So when he's hired by a rock station, WLUP, he's able to use his platform for vengeance. So he's 100% anti-disco. He mocks his old station, which is WDAI. Their slogan was disco, DAI. And instead he says disco, DIE.
Clever.
He's a very clever man. You'll
sounds
see.
like a hack comic on like a Tuesday open mic.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly who he is. Unfortunately, plenty of people follow him. He created a pretend group called the Insane Coho Lips. Again,
What?
Insane Coho Lips, which is just his listeners who also hate disco. He explained the name of this in an interview in 2009. Dahl stated that the name was created because he named it after a well-known gang in Chicago called the Insane Unknowns. And he mashed that up with this place that he passed by going to work every day. It was a fishing fleet in Birmingham Harbor. A coho is a type of salmon. I didn't know that until my research. So yeah, that's how we get the Insane Coho Lips.
And that's what his followers were called?
Yeah, that's what he named.
Imagine
his
if we
followers.
named people that listen to Night Classy just something psychotic.
Right. The psychotic night prowlers.
Like just
Actually,
something we drive by every day on the way to school.
What is that one road? Dang it, what is it called? I don't remember. Oh, yeah, it's Crump
Boulevard.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll follow in his footsteps for this one thing and name our followers something completely crazy and insane. But it's hard to forget. So yeah, we have the Insane Coho Lips. And so Dahl and his followers so eloquently landed on the motto, disco sucks. It's plain. It's to the point.
I mean, I kind of like it. And I
What do you like about it?
I like that it's clear and to the point.
Okay.
I think they didn't overthink it, unlike that other weird thing they
don't like the
decided.
message. Yeah, they redeemed themselves and their motto.
I don't like the message, but I think it's a good motto for them.
It works.
Yeah.
Yeah, it clearly depicts what they're going for.
Yeah.
And so a bunch of other stuff is happening that's anti-disco. Around this time, a discotheque in Linwood, Illinois switches over from rock to disco. And so Dahl arrives, not really a huge surprise that he would be like, let me just show up to this like big reveal. But so did like literally thousands of his Insane Coho Lips. Like, can you imagine being at Rayford's and there are thousands of people around it, protesting it? Yeah. It became extremely unruly and the police were called, and then it like ended, like nothing major happened, but it was a thing. And then, like the mature adults, Dahl and his co-hosts are, that's the short term co-hosts. Later that month, they pulled up to a teen disco in Chicago suburbs and ruined the party. Not just them showing up, but Dahl told his followers, he was like, hey, let's throw marshmallows at the WDAI, his old station's van that was there just like covering the disco. So they did. They threw marshmallows at the van. Of course, that was not far enough. The hose chased down the van, cornered the driver in a park, and then we don't really know what happened after that, but apparently
they cornered him in the park and then they just walked away.
They're like, they threw more marshmallows at him.
Why marshmallows?
I don't know. Maybe it was hot or something, and when they melt on a van, it's really hard to get off.
Do marshmallows melt without fire?
I don't know.
I'm just imagining a guy like laying down on a park, like screaming at the top of his lungs, and they're just throwing marshmallows at him.
And then one guy kicks him, and the rest are like, they're like, "That's not cool, man. Like that's not what we're here to do. We're here to throw marshmallows.
We're the insane coholips, bro."
Yeah. We're not monsters.
Yeah, so it dissipated without any violence, at least any violence that was reported. So who really knows? Maybe someone got diabetes from like being.
They're just like Patrick Star, like
they catch all the
marshmallows in his mouth, and then he can't move because he has so many marshmallows inside of him.
I feel like he just like this guy Steve Dahl definitely. I'll show you pictures. Like he definitely would be the person who just had marshmallows like rumbling around in his trunk or something of his car, and he's like, "Here, I have these. Go forth." And then they only have so many. They have to like go back and pick them up and then like throw them again.
He like tells his followers to buy eggs, but they're like so stupid they bought marshmallows.
They're so stupid. They're like, they're both white.
Like me.
No real difference. Like me. So that's also happening. And so the White Sox, for some reason, the owner is like, Steve Dahl is the man for the job. And so they hire him to promote this night that is teen night, and what Steve Dahl later makes it Disco Demolition Night is the official name for it.
Steve Dahl and sports seem to probably have a matching demographic of fans. So I can see.
Yeah.
And this is also why I hate sports.
Yeah. At first,
Not saying I hate you if you like sports. I do not see the
just
appeal.
Kidding.
Yeah, just kidding.
I like popcorn. I'll go to a sports event for popcorn.
I don't like drinking $12 Bud Light though.
Oh God, no! I don't like drinking Bud Light.
Yeah, same.
Let me be very clear.
Remember when we bought 18 Bud Lights for that party we threw, and then no one drank them?
Like
I threw them away.
17 of them.
Yeah. We just had a giant case of Bud Light in our fridge for like 3 months until Alec threw them away.
No, and then they made the move to the new house.
Yeah, somehow. Why?
And they still sat there, and I was like, they gotta go.
It feels wrong to throw away beer.
Yeah, food waste.
Yeah.
We were like, I think the logic, and I remember, saying that like one day we'll have drank so much that a Bud Light is appealing enough to just drink it.
Yeah, and then
that never happened.
No,
it will never happen.
No, we're adults. We buy delicious beer.
Yeah, we're adults. We drink $17 wine box. Now. We're grown.
We budget $17 a week for our box of wine.
Right.
We don't need any Bud Light.
We need to up it to 34. No, what's 17 times 2? I can't do math right
34.
now. 30. Whoa. Okay,
I think,
cool.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
34.
Yeah, 34.
Hell yeah.
We're so
nailed
smart.
That. See, you know what's cool about that is that intuition told me 34. I didn't actually even think about it. I just said a word.
Wow.
Yeah, I just said a word.
It's amazing.
I know. Thank you. So yeah, do you want to keep talking about Disco Demolition Night and find out about what actually happens?
No,
or should we just
I want to keep talking about
sponsors?
the number 34.
The number 34 is so diverse because not only can you split it into 10 3 times, you can split it into 2 twice.
Wow, we're actually doing it.
No, let's talk about Disco Demolition Night. All right, so a bunch of people show up because they're like, it's 1979. We have nothing better to do than to go for a 98-cent entry to this thing.
Yeah.
And we hate disco. So tens of thousands of people drop their vinyl records at the ticket gates upon entering. So many people were entered for this promotion that regular ticket holders were denied entering the arena because they had reached capacity.
Is that allowed? What?
I don't think so. Like, they not only sold out, but they were over capacity. It's estimated that 55,000 people were in the stadium that night. And let me go back to my notes here to see what the stadium was designed to hold. It was designed to hold 44,492 fans.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was overflowing. So there were a lot of people there. So people were denied after a certain point of entering the arena. Lots of people did climb the walls to get into the stadium. Can you imagine wanting to see sports that bad?
I feel like at that point, you just want to see the shit show.
Right, yeah.
Right?
It's not about the sports.
Yeah.
Wait, is sports not
It's about
the shit
anarchy.
show? Anarchy, yes. I would do it for that. I would.
It's worth it.
So 55,000 people were there in the stadium that night, and it's estimated that there were another 15,000 people hanging out outside of the stadium in downtown Chicago.
Because they're throwing away disco records?
Yes, because they hate disco, because disco sucks, apparently.
Why are people so stupid?
I don't know. Maybe because I don't know. I
just
have no
don't like.
explanation.
I don't know.
I have no explanation.
Okay.
Another source said, and I don't really know which one to believe because the numbers vary, but the ones that I previously gave were like the general range of estimates on all the sources that I read. But one source did say that around 90,000 people showed up for Disco Demolition Night, which
Holy
seems like
shit.
super inflated, but I don't know what, like, there's no way to get an accurate reading.
90,000?
Yeah, I looked it up on the census. That's like if the entire town of Miami Beach, Florida showed up for this baseball game. It's like a lot of people.
It's a few people.
It's a few people. It's a handful.
Will you show me on your fingers how many people 90,000 is? Because I don't know if I can understand.
So I'm holding up 9. Now
Okay.
picture this times 10,000. You
Got
can
it.
do that, right?
Okay, now
good.
I get it.
Now I get it. Okay. So as you remember, they deposited their vinyl records to be collected so that they could bring them out at halftime in between these two games. Not every person in this, in the crowd were able to deposit their records at the door because the boxes were filled so quickly. So instead they hung on to them and later ended up throwing them like dangerous frisbees during the actual game.
Oh my God. That's
Yeah.
a sharp frisbee.
It's a sharp frisbee. It's a heavy frisbee. The baseball players were advised to wear protective gear while playing. By the 5th inning, there were hundreds of records littering the field. Can you imagine these co-hosts would be so rude and so disrespectful? I'm shocked.
Yeah, I mean, they seemed like really polite young men before all of this. Really upstanding citizens.
Something about the air just changed them.
They're they seem very respectful of other people and other people
not wanting to oppress anyone.
Yeah.
Not wanting to deny people of their own individual happiness.
Right. Very just selfless, understanding, compassionate people.
Right. Yeah.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, I'm shocked too. And you might be shocked to find out that the stadium was clad with homemade banners. Some attendees of the game would later describe them as obscene, but we'll just say that the banners plainly said disco sucks. Okay. Here's a picture of one small portion of the stadium.
Wow.
Well, they suck at making banners because it looks like
they're
a
all
child
homemade.
made that. Yeah.
I mean, it was the 1970s,
so people
what can
didn't
you
know
really
how to
do?
use paint.
I have no clue. But
it was homophobic men trying to paint a painting.
Right. They should have hired a gay man.
Yeah.
They should have, and then they would have realized what they were missing out on. So Chance went along with these posters. Somehow they organized that. The crowd got super rowdy, as you do. Beer was drunk. Critics of how people behaved at this event also, they were like, they smoked, and I quote, the reefer. They're like, I think what made them so crazy, and I suspect, I don't really know what it smells like, but I suspect it was the reefer.
The reefer.
So that brings us to the end of the first game. There's shit all over the field. People have their banners. They've been drinking. It is overflowing with people and they're smoking the devil's lettuce. And out comes Steve Dahl. He enters the scene in between games and he's decked out in military gear and an army helmet. Here's a picture.
Oh my God. Wait.
Doesn't he look like he's loving life? I'll show you another picture. Yeah, I'll just show you both of them.
He looks like a Jack Black character.
Yeah, but this is who he literally is. In a later interview, they're like, yeah, your costume was way too small. He was like, I know, it was the largest one they had.
Yeah, he looks like very round and has like straightened a mullet with bangs.
Mm-hmm. Very shaggy.
Very shaggy. And yeah, his jacket is cinched to his waist.
It's just ill-fitting.
I'm not sure what point he's trying to make.
He said in an interview later on that, and I'm paraphrasing here, basically that he felt like these people needed like a representative of them that was going to be like someone like a sergeant, something along the lines of that. Okay. Yeah. So he enters the field looking like that. With him is a bombshell model named Lorelei, who's known for her sexually appealing advertisements on the same station he not DJs, but that he talks on for WLUP. So the crowd continues to chant, "Disco sucks. Disco sucks." It becomes so loud and they yell it in unison so well that it can be clearly heard from way beyond the stadium walls. Like people in surrounding neighborhoods are like, what the hell? What the hell? And they bring out a massive crate of tens of thousands of records to the field. Dahl warms up the crowd, and this is a quote from that night. "This is now officially the world's largest anti-disco rally. Now listen, we took all the records you brought tonight. We got them in a giant box, and we're going to blow them up real good."
Did they blow them up?
Dahl set off 2 fireworks in front of the records, and then a final firework bomb goes off, and pieces of records ricochet through the air.
My jaw's on the floor.
The crowd lost their goddamn minds.
Because their minds were like impaled by pieces of record.
Yeah. Their skulls were damaged and their brains oozed out.
Yeah.
Also, they oozed out of the stands because they rushed the field and began to riot. Thousands of people ran rampant. Small fires are lit. Small fires.
Small flowers.
Small flowers. It was a beautiful affair. But firecrackers are thrown at crowd members by crowd members. They're destroying the turf. They're fucking up records. They're smashing and burning them. The batting cage was destroyed completely. People tear up the bases and stole them, along with bats and gloves. And so it's just like anarchy.
Yeah.
Like you said.
Yeah.
It's chaos. So they try to get it round up. They try to get people to return to their seats. They start playing Take Me Out to the Ball Game. And as this is playing, they're like, please, can you please find your seats? Everyone, please. Is this thing on?
It sounds like teaching middle school.
It's exactly what teaching middle school is like, I'm guessing.
Oh, I know.
And as middle school goes, no one listened. This goes on for like 20 minutes after like Dahl had initially entered the field to conduct the death of disco. The riot police have to come in to get things under control. Eventually the crowd does disperse, but there's really no going back to the game. Like they were supposed to play a whole other game after this. The field was fucked up. Like it was literally on fire.
Do you think this was the plan all along? Like the team was doing so shitty, they just didn't want to play another game.
They're like, please no.
That's how I felt when I used to play soccer, even though like I really didn't like playing soccer.
Oh,
and we'd have a double header, and the second game of the day, you're just like, I think I would literally rather die.
Yeah. I
don't
played
think-
lacrosse and I'd be like,
Yeah.
lightning, please, dear God. Like even if we have to play, like let one stroke of lightning hit my lacrosse stick and put me out.
I used to fake having a limp so I could be taken out of the game because I didn't want to.
My clumsiness took care of that for me. I vividly remember tripping over nothing and they paused the entire game to make sure, like my coach rushed the field to make sure I was all good. And I was like, shut up, just stop. Yeah. So they lucked out. They weren't going to play a second game. The White Sox had to forfeit the final game of the night. Initially, they wanted to postpone it. They're like, please, can we just postpone this? We'll play it on Saturday, give us a day to get this all cleaned up. But the American League of Baseball president, Lee MacPhail, he assessed the situation and he was like, listen, games, and I don't know why, but I assume that he has like a Southern accent. He's like, games can only be postponed due to acts of God. And that's what he said. And this fuck up was not that of God. So
God's like, don't put this on me.
This is not on me.
Not
Listen,
me.
Hunger across the world, that's on me. But the field burning,
it's on Disco.
Yeah, it's on
I
Disco.
take no
Disco
responsibility.
sucks.
Yeah.
What can I say? So yeah, he ruled that it was the White Sox fault and they had to forfeit the game. The next morning, Steve Dahl got on the air on his radio station. He's, of course, mocking all the reports of what happened that night. And this is one of the quotes from him. He said, I think for the most part, everything was wonderful. Who does this sound like?
Yeah.
Some maniac co-host got wild, went down on the field, which you shouldn't have done. Bad little co-hosts. The one White Sox pitcher, Rich Wortham, who's a Texan, said, this wouldn't have happened if they had done country and western night.
What?
Yeah.
Dog whistle.
And so disco actually did see a decline in popularity, but to be clear, it did not die.
Yeah.
Disco artists kept doing their thing. Record labels did start labeling disco music as dance music, and disco pretty much just went back underground and transformed and resurfaced later on, a few years later, as like house music.
Yeah.
One Rolling Stones critic, Dave Marsh, described Disco Demolition Night as, quote, your most paranoid fantasy about where the ethnic cleansing of rock radio could ultimately lead. And Dahl stands by his claim that Disco Demolition Night had nothing to do with the discrimination. A lot of people disagree with that. And Steve Dahl, he stands by his claim that he's like, Disco Demolition Night, like, yeah, it got crazy, but it had nothing to do with like targeting any like black people or gay people. Like, we just hate disco. And go ahead.
I don't have anything to say.
A lot of people disagree with him, including myself. I'm like, even if
yeah,
Dahl didn't mean it like that, his followers did.
Right. It's like, how dare my thing not be like the number one thing?
Right.
Like I'm used to being the like dominant culture, and how dare anyone else come for that crown?
Yeah. I can't appreciate what this other culture is doing.
Exactly.
There can't be any other.
Yeah.
So totally toxic.
Yeah.
Complete lack of self-reflection. Like, even if he was just an idiot.
Right. Because you said in the beginning of this that like he gave an interview in 2009, and I was like, okay, like has he reflected? And it sounds like he has not. Yeah.
Absolutely not. And in a year closeout of the same year that this happened, 1979, Marsh also wrote, this guy who's a critic in Rolling Stone, he also wrote in reference to Disco Demolition Night, quote, white males 18 to 34 years old are the most likely to see disco as the product of homosexuals, blacks, and Latins, and therefore they're most likely to respond to appeals to wipe out such threats to their security. It almost goes without saying that such appeals are racist and sexist, but broadcasting has never been an especially civil libertarian medium.
Mm-hmm.
And at the top of my lesson, I did say something about Nazis. Disco Demolition Night has been compared to Nazi book burning, which I thought of like almost immediately in my research. And I was like confirmed when I saw that like other sources made that comparison. Cause I was like, oh shit, like this is like,
you have this
for real.
Yeah. This like huge like force of anger around another identity. Trying to come for your, like, not even trying to come for your identity, but like threatening your sense of well-being by existing.
Right. And so publicly that it's hard to ignore. Like, you feel threatened and in danger probably in like just your day-to-day life as someone who's not a part of a like majorly represented group. But to publicly see people burning and destroying records of something that just represents who you are, like,
it was an act of violence for sure.
Absolutely. And Gloria Gaynor, the singer of I Will Survive, said, I've always believed it was an economic decision, an idea created by someone whose economic bottom line was being adversely affected by the popularity of disco music. So they got a mob mentality going.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really great way to just sum it up. Like Dahl got fired because he was all about rock and roll, couldn't adjust to disco. So he was like, well, fuck, if I can't make money, doing what I love, like we've got to kill disco. Some people do believe that Dahl and his co-hosts were just being idiots. A lot of people disagree with that. I do agree, like I said before, that they are idiots, but I just really think that they're small men. I think that they're scared of things that are different than themselves or things that they can't control or they can't profit from. I think that they're just hateful. One participant, Vance Lawrence, who at the time, well, not at the time, he's a black man now, but at the time he did attend Disco Demolition Night.
Were you going to say at the time he was a black man?
Yeah. At the time, he was a black teenager. He was now a black man. He attended Disco Demolition Night so that he could collect records because he really liked it.
I was going to ask you, was there like a teenage girl like standing in the back just waiting to like, grab the record?
Yes, I think there were tons of them actually.
Yeah.
So don't let that number fool you that all these people here were to kill disco because lots of people fucking loved and currently love disco because
disco is great.
Amazing. So Vince Lawrence, he actually later on became a very successful like house music producer, but he attended so that he could take some records home with him. He later told interviewers that what he saw people have like the records of, it wasn't just disco, it was just black artists. And I think that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
So Disco Demolition Night, it didn't stand alone in 1979. There were other events like in Seattle, a bunch of rock fans attacked a mobile disco floor. In Portland, Oregon, a DJ destroyed disco records with a chainsaw. Yeah. I feel like it's like today's version of someone driving a big old truck like an asshole. Like that's a really clear way to say what your insecurity is. And it's yourself.
Yeah. Like truck nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was his truck nuts, was his chainsaw. In New York City, one DJ played Hot Stuff by Donna Summers and tons of rock fans just straight up protested and shut the whole event down. So that is all about Disco Demolition Night. It, I feel like, has never been the same since. For Rayford's to be such a specialty place for us, like a disco place, it makes me think of like how our lives could be different and how music could be different.
Well, disco, like pop music evolved from disco. And I think music is always changing. I don't think, but who knows? You're right.
Right. I'm just wondering because it did decline after this. Like clearly it had an effect, whether, it did resurface and things evolved, but it's a huge bookmark in time. And that's Disco Demolition Night. So my sources are Discophobia, Anti-Gay Prejudice in the 1979 Backlash Against Disco, Wikipedia, Decades TV Network, NPR, and Britannica.
Britannica. I like that better.
All right. Stay alive, my friends. Let's break for our sponsors.
And we'll be right back. So we're our own sponsor this week.
Entrepreneurs.
Yes. Female entrepreneurs.
Doing it.
With
T-shirts. We got friggin' T-shirts. It's the softest tri-blend. Whatever that means. It's soft as fuck.
It's really soft as fuck. It's slim fitted, but not like fitted. Like it's unisex, but like not baggy.
It's like unisex so that everyone's gonna look good in
it's
it.
Flattering.
It's ambiguous.
Very ambiguous, but the color is not ambiguous. It is a bright pink, and they're freaking gorgeous. And what do they say, Hayley?
They say hose for science.
Hose for science.
You have to be bold. You have to be clear.
You gotta be a big personality.
This is all three.
Yeah.
Big, bold, big personality.
Or you can wear it as pajamas.
Right.
That's a choice.
Or you can wear it as a uniform every day.
Every day.
Order 7.
You can wear it to your job.
Yes, you should wear it to your job.
You can wear it to pick up your kid from daycare.
Right. So everyone knows that you are a hoe for science,
Yes.
which means, I mean, whatever you want it to mean. But for me, it
It's
means
up for interpretation.
Yeah. Also on it, there are molecules, specifically alcohol molecules.
Yeah, not just any molecules, alcohol molecules. These shirts are so cute. They are pink. They say Host for Science. You can join the Cool Kids Club, support us, support our podcast, and you can click on the link in the show notes. You can click on the link in any of our social media bios, or go to parasaur.co and get yourself a night classy Host for Science t-shirt.
Yeah, let's spell it for them. Parasaur.co.
Wow.
Because I'm not sure I would know how to spell Parasaur.
I didn't know how to spell it.
Well, there you go. Now you know.
All right.
Host for spelling.
Host for spelling, Host for science. Get your shirt.
Peace.
Bye. Welcome to Miss Barnhart's classroom. It is currently in disrepair because we are on virtual school and I haven't bothered to decorate it. But here we are.
Some people just don't care, do they?
I care. I'll decorate it if the kids come back, but if there's no one to see it, I'm not decorating it.
I'm so anal. Like when we took that strengths test, spoiler alert, my number one strength was like appearance, like how things around you look. And I was like, if I'm going to be here, then it has to look all right.
Yeah, I got none of that.
Good for you.
My border is like falling off the wall. I haven't even bothered to staple it back up.
You can hear like the whoo.
Yeah.
Do you know what sound I'm talking about? Like in old Western movies?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
It's pretty much that. And I bought all these posters because the school gave us money to buy posters. And then
just posters?
Pretty much. That's all you can get from Knowledge Tree, like posters and whiteboard markers. Basically, at least for middle school, maybe. Like I think they have like cool stuff for little kids, but
they do.
And okay, Alex telling us to hurry the fuck up. No one wants to hear about our hashtag teacher life. So I'm dressed as a vampire, and it's our Halloween episode. So I'm gonna sort of talk about vampires, but we're gonna go on a ride here. So my sources are discovermagazine.com, The Atlantic, history.com, and nationalpost.com. So as legends go, vampires are evil, mythological creatures who only come out at night and feed on human blood. Is your mind blown? Did you not know that?
I thought they were sparkly and I thought they could run very fast.
And they can also do those things, according to my favorite vampires.
I've been misled.
Yeah. Love Twilight.
Twihard.
I'm a Twihard. Team Edward forever.
How hard did you hate Jacob?
So hard.
God, like he was affecting my actual life. Like when I was reading that book.
Yeah, he made me angry. And also like, okay, Edward is a controlling, emotional abuser, but also Jacob is like the ultimate nice guy because he just like cries all the time about how Bella likes Edward and not him, and then takes it out on Bella.
There's no happy medium.
No good one.
Right.
There's no good one. So here we go. There are vampire legends in all parts of the world, and legendary vampires and real vampires have been around for a very long time. And yes, I said real vampires.
Is this an animal?
No.
Oh, okay.
So probably the most famous real quote unquote vampire is the one who inspired the character of Count Dracula, and his name was Vlad Dracula.
Are you going to talk about people who actually drink blood? Oh, oh God.
Yes, I am. Vlad was born in Transylvania, Romania, and he ruled Wallachia, Romania, or is it Wallachia? I don't know how to say it. Off and on from 1456 to 1462. He was a brutally cruel ruler who fought off the Ottoman Empire. So he's pretty famous for that and did a good job.
Okay.
He was nicknamed Vlad the Impaler because his favorite way to kill the enemy was to impale them with a wooden stake.
Wow, that's so personal. That's like up close.
Personal. He didn't use an iron stake. He really wanted the friction.
Yeah, he wanted to give them splinters. Like he wanted to splinter them to death.
He wanted it to hurt. And according to legends, Vlad liked to dine with the corpses of his victims and dip his bread in their blood and eat it.
Oh yeah, just like I'm at Maggiano's and I'm dipping my bread in the oil.
What the fuck is Maggiano's?
Oh, it's an Italian restaurant chain, and I guess not where you're from.
Okay. Olive Garden. Real vampire.
Not the same.
And Hayley, I'm here today to tell you that real vampires still exist, though they're less sensational and much less evil than Vlad.
So you're just like confirming all of my thoughts when I was in 6th grade, and I was like, so there could be real vampires, right?
Yeah, there
like,
are.
I've talked about this so many times on this podcast already.
This is my dream come true. I was like, wow, there really are real. I was right all along, and
were you. Are you a vampire?
No, unfortunately.
Oh.
Actually, fortunately, after reading this, I'm pretty glad I'm not a vampire.
Oh, okay, cool.
So there are 2 types of real vampires. There are those who drink human and animal blood, and then those who drink psychic energy. And real vampires are biologically identical to humans in every single way, except they drink blood. And they don't drink blood for pleasure or for fun, but they believe they need blood because according to them, they lack energy that everyone else has, and they replenish these energies with blood.
So wait, is this a different species?
No, it's people. I think they're
It's
anemic.
people who think
We're not laughing at them. We're
laughing at the idea.
No, so bear with me. Bear with me.
Sorry.
So we're gonna get to it, and all of my research came from this guy who we're gonna talk about, but he spent like years living with the vampire community in New Orleans and has a lot of respect for vampires.
Okay.
And so that's kind of where my research is coming from. So this is not something to laugh at. You can laugh at certain aspects, but
from my point of view in this
comedy
moment,
podcast, do not laugh.
do not laugh. This is serious, Hayley.
But from my point of view in this moment in time, you just said they are biologically the same as humans, but they drink blood. So I'm thinking of like vegans. They're biologically the same as all other humans, but they don't drink or eat anything that is a product of an animal.
Would you laugh at a vegan, Hayley?
I went vegan for a month and laughed myself into insanity.
Yeah, being vegan's not fun. I did it
tough.
for 2.5 years, and man, it was tough.
I would love to do it. It's hard though.
It is hard. It's hard. Pizza is just so good. But mad respect for vegans. Yeah. And so to real vampires, this is not a fad or interest. It's not that they're obsessed with vampires and they want to be one. And they call those people who treat it as a fad or interest, they call them lifestylers. They believe this is a biological need to drink blood or energy, or they become weak and experience emotional and physical symptoms. This need for blood typically surfaces after puberty. And it seems like a common experience is in puberty, they find themselves physically drained they just have no energy. And then maybe they accidentally bite their lip and get some blood from the cut, and that gives them a rush of energy.
I think I'm a vampire.
And then they realize they need blood. Do you get a rush of energy from drinking your own blood?
I think I'm a vampire.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
if
drain
you're
of energy, extremely emotional, sleeping all day.
Well, then in that case, I think you've been quote unquote awakened, or you quote unquote came out of the coffin, because that's what they call
it. Is that
it.
appropriate?
Maybe. I don't know. That's what they call it when you realize your vampiric identity.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. And most vampires really maintain that this is not a choice. They would rather live like normal people, but they just like have this physical need for blood. And historically, real vampires who drink human blood emerged as a community in the 1970s. So this is when they started attending social gatherings like Dark Shadows conventions, events for blood fetishists, and BDSM conventions. And they started meeting at those places. Shortly after, the general public started becoming aware of them. So in 1974, Jean Keys Youngston, the founder of the Count Dracula fan club, began to meet some of her real vampire fans and extended the scope of the group to include real vampirism. The same year, paranormal investigator Stephen Kaplan founded the Vampiric Research Center, which was the first organization that studied real vampirism.
Who are they funded by? Stephanie Meyer? You laughed. You're out.
You know, I don't know what they'd be funded by. Maybe I don't know. I don't know.
For hundreds of years, there's been a trust fund for vampires.
I imagine people want to read this research, so maybe
you know what? That's so true.
I read all of it.
We need to donate actually right now. Let's.
You know what you would really want to donate to is the Vampiric Research Center, which monitored a hotline where anonymous callers could call and tell staff about their vampiric activities.
Oh, like confession, but make it vampire.
Yeah. Like, how badly would you want to be on the other end of that phone?
Quite, like, how can I? What are the prerequisites?
Right? I don't think it's still a thing, but that sounds amazing.
Well, let's make it a thing.
Yeah. And then from the 1970s, vampires and pop culture and the real vampire community grew rapidly. Today, there are at least 5,000 people who identify as real vampires in the United States.
Is there a way to put that on the census? Is it going to be a thing? Like
so it's not quite on the census.
Okay.
But Dr. Edgar Browning has dedicated his academic career to studying real vampires. And after spending years studying the history and myths of vampires, in 2009, he shifted his research to the real vampire community and began a 5-year immersive field study on vampire culture in the French Quarter of New Orleans. And he is where I got all of my research, all the articles I read. He was like either being interviewed or he wrote them. And this is basically about his experience.
Okay, this is cool.
Yeah. He met his first vampire when he started his research. He went into this gothic clothing store called Wicked New Orleans in Baton Rouge. And he asked the clerk if he knew any vampires. And he's like, oh yeah, that lady over there.
Wow, I would expect that of Seattle, but not Baton Rouge.
Really, New Orleans? I feel like there's a.
I mean, I learned everything I know about vampires from Twilight, so I'm biased.
I guess that's true. I wasn't sure where the connection to Seattle was coming from until then. Okay.
Wow, did you even read Twilight? I'm not sure we could be friends.
Are you even from Seattle?
7 times.
Are you even 7 times?
Forks is a long way from Seattle.
It's an hour.
No, it's not. It's like 3 hours and I've never been there.
I went there from Seattle.
It's more than an hour.
You want me to look it up?
Yeah, look it up.
I thought it was an hour, but perhaps I'm wrong.
I think it's more, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I think I did fall asleep on the ride, so perhaps I am wrong. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's 3 hours.
I think it is because you have to go all the way around the peninsula.
It's called Forks.
Yeah.
Forks, yeah.
Drum roll. 3 hours and 34 minutes from Seattle.
Dang.
Wow. Who's from Washington and
I
who's
slept
not?
for a long time. I visited Washington.
I slept the whole ride. I'm sure it was an hour.
Yeah. So
Never been more sure of anything in my life. I was asleep the entire time.
We went to Forks and La Push.
I can't believe you went to Seattle and spent a whole fucking day going to Forks. What's wrong with you?
We did. Well, they have the Twilight like museum there. It's a whole place full of like costumes.
But there's so many cool things to do in Seattle.
It was a multi-day visit to Seattle. Don't
matter.
worry. Well,
I'm worried.
well, I'm gonna come back and you're gonna host me.
Okay.
You and your mom.
we won't go to Forks. Not trying to shit on Forks, but like I don't know.
But the real vampires are in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, we're not trying to laugh at Forks.
Okay, so the woman he directed her toward was a woman in her 40s or 50s, and she was there shopping with her son. Browning approached her and said, "Pardon me, do you know any vampires?" And she grinned and revealed her canine teeth that had been sharpened into points.
Wow.
And she said, yeah, she might know a few. And that's who he refers to as his first vampire.
Wow. I wonder how many times she's just living her life and she gets approached like that. Like at least once a day, right?
Maybe if they saw her teeth, but if they didn't see her teeth, I don't know how you'd know. So his next experience with vampires came days later at Ye Olde Original Dungeon, which is a nightclub in the French Quarter. And there he met two male vampires. One had long brown hair and a ponytail, and the other had short, spiky blonde hair. At least one of them had fangs, from what I read. And by December, he would meet another at least 24 vampires.
So they're around.
They're around. And so he went through his research, and through it, he came out with the conclusion that vampires are everybody. They could be your teachers, your shop clerks, your bartenders, and antique dealers.
Okay, so they could be everybody, but they're not everybody.
They're not everybody.
He's
but
like, I've come to the conclusion.
everybody is a vampire. No, I said
This
that. I
conspiracy
phrased that poorly.
runs deep.
Anybody could be a vampire. And because people who are vampires do not willingly disclose their lifestyle. They do not go around broadcasting that they're vampires. Some of them have sharpened teeth, but most of them don't. And one woman Browning talked to confided in him that she worried about losing custody of her daughter if people found out. So like there's a real social stigma. And so a lot of people do not broadcast the fact that they're vampires.
Well, yeah. Okay. So like from what I can understand so far, like this is a real like culture and like people are vampires. But I also get like that real fear of being like, my kid could be taken away. Like, what if I had a kid and I was like, I'm a dog. I am a dog.
Yeah, I'd probably take your child away. So
right. So that's a real fear. I get
it is a fear.
Okay.
It is a real fear. And like it doesn't, and like Browning it says that he went into this research like me and like you, expecting to find, quote, nutcases and dreamers. But to him, who spent 5 years at the vampire community, all the vampires he encountered seemed to be sane, average people. Browning spent time with vampires. He attended monthly meetings with New Orleans vampire elders, and he built real friendships. Browning became so immersed in the vampire community and in his research that he volunteered to be a blood donor for his vampire friend.
What? Okay, that's at a whole other level. Because my first question was, wow, this is really interesting that they just he could build relationships so easily. They were so trusting. But then it escalated very quickly to they're drinking him.
Yeah. And so do you want to hear about it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I have a quote from Browning. He describes his experience as such. Quote, on this occasion, he produces a small rectangular box. Opening it, he reveals a ceremonial knife. One that will be used to make a small incision on my arm. At his own insistence, he won't do the cutting himself due to a physical disability that impedes his dexterity.
intuition, evolution.
Well, so we're waiting for his wife to get home from work to take care of it. Once the cut is made, she will step back and he will come forward and feed on my blood. But unfortunately, the wife was late coming home from work that night, so they didn't do it. But
wait, I think I'm confused. I'm sorry. I thought that when you were saying that like a physical disability or something like that, that he couldn't cut himself. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Oh,
the vampire couldn't cut him because I think his hand shook or something. So he didn't want to like cut because it wouldn't be like he might hurt him.
Okay. So when I said intuition and evolution, I meant that like it's hard to
cut
cause
yourself.
harm to
Yeah.
So I thought the same thing.
Okay. No, he wasn't doing it to himself, but they were waiting for the wife to come home to do it for him because the vampire couldn't. She came home late last night, so they didn't get a chance to, but on another occasion, he was able to be a donor. And he said, quote, "The pricking hurt because he's a needle phobe. But other than that, it was okay."
Okay.
Yeah. And so vampires only feed off volunteer donors, and they have what's called the Donor Bill of Rights. And this is a pact between the vampire and donor to ensure physical, social, and emotional safety. And people volunteer for this. They volunteer for all kinds of reasons. Most often, they're probably a loved one or in a partnership with the vampire, or they might do it for financial compensation or maybe sexual favors. Usually, the vampire and donor are blood tested first. Some use sterile medical tubing to extract the blood into a small cup and then drink it. Others just use sterile blades and drink straight from the wound before cleaning and bandaging it.
Ooh, that just like triggered a memory from elementary school. Like the kid who like gets a cut. Oh no, it's not. Never mind. It's not a memory. It's from the show Weeds.
Oh my God.
I knew I was remembering something. See, memory is tricky. You can't really actually trust your memory.
You never know.
And that's a
You
fact.
Can't. That is a fact.
But anyway, one of the characters cut himself and he like licked his knee. He was a child. He's like, I don't know, 9 years old in this show. And the kids are like, "Oh, vampire." And like he got bullied and then he proceeded to violently react.
Cool story. Okay.
But anyway, yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks.
Sorry. Here's my story and I'm sorry.
All right. So
just like teaching middle school.
Yeah.
And teaching in general, I think, actually.
So, yeah, exactly. And so the vampires Browning worked with say they cannot control their urges and they need to feed 2 to 3 times per week. If they can, they'll save and refrigerate blood and then later drink it or combine it with things like tea, drink some blood tea.
What would you want to combine blood with to consume?
I think tea sounds like a pretty good option.
I would want something a little chunky, I think.
Chunky?
Yeah, like a slushie, like a raspberry slushie.
Okay, yeah, I guess if you want to hide it. Yeah.
So I don't want to taste it, but again, I'm not a vampire.
Yeah.
Or am I?
I don't. Yeah, I guess I wouldn't want to taste it, but vampires probably do.
Right. Is blood salty?
Yeah.
I don't know. I like salt.
Metallic.
Maybe I would.
You
Maybe
know
I
what,
just like
Hayley,
have a
you know
little
what
like
blood tastes like.
You've
bit your lip before.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it is. Yeah. That's why I asked if it's
pennies.
salty.
Yeah, it tastes like pennies.
Okay.
Yeah. The Donor Bill of Rights also applies to psychic vampires. So psychic vampires are not supposed to feed. And by feed, they take in energy from people. So they can do that a few ways, which we'll talk about. One way is touch. So they're not supposed to do that without people's consent. Vampires build social networks. They often form houses or covens where older vampires in the house mentor the younger ones. And for psychic vampires, these mentorships often include lessons or methods of how to contact feed, where you touch the donor, or ambient feeding, where they take excess energy from high traffic areas, or tantric feeding, which they get from sexual encounters. And so
just sleep vampire.
What?
Sleep vampire, like a sleep demon, but a vampire.
Succubus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of, but like they need your consent.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So
Okay,
if you
I like that.
consented to the succubus, kind of. When Browning set out to study and gather his data, he wanted to know how geography and local culture played a role in how vampirism manifests across the United States. And so what he found, for example, vampires in Buffalo are much more discreet than vampires in New Orleans, where it's more common for them to have fangs and live in houses together. He did some work on demographics of vampires. So he found that the vampires in New Orleans were mostly white, to a lesser extent, some were Latinx. Browning discovered that vampires were equally men and women, and their sexual orientations, marital status, and religions were very diverse. There is no real trend, and they typically range in age from 18 to 50. Not all vampires choose to dress in Gothic style clothing. Not all choose to wear prosthetic fangs. Most vampires actually keep outward signs of their identity secret, but a lot of times they'll bring out that identity during the night, especially when they go to clubs. Some vampires take it even further, and they only sleep during the day and come out at night, like for real, like how they live their lives. Not all of them, of course, do this, but some take this identity very seriously. Most real vampires keep their condition from their doctors. So there's not a lot of medical data on this and what causes this.
Dang, I really wish there was.
Me too. My best guess is anemia, right? Like you have an iron deficiency, so you want blood.
I guess so, but it's not like, okay, I don't have the knowledge to know that like what exactly anemia is, but it's not like you're lacking blood, you're lacking iron.
But there's a lot of iron in blood.
Okay.
So like when people have severe anemia, they crave like really rare meat.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's bloody. And so that's kind of what I think. Some vampires do admit that this could be all in their heads, but never
self-awareness. I love that.
Yeah, but like even if it's all in their heads, they're still like facing
they still feel that
psychosomatic symptoms.
So it's real. It's real. Like if you feel it, then it's real.
Exactly. If you feel it, then it's real. And if blood makes them feel better, then okay. Like as long as people are consenting to give them that blood. There are some like, what do you call it? Anecdotal like reports of this. So one vampire, Kinesia, went 4 months without feeding and ended up in the emergency room with a low heart rate that would shoot up to 160 if she stood up or walked around, followed by a migraine or loss of consciousness. And then, but as soon as her husband like smuggled in some blood into the hospital for her to drink, she like was immediately fine. And another vampire reports that she's unable to work or walk around after not drinking blood for a while. So there are physical consequences for these people.
Physical consequences, though, can happen due to emotions from anyone.
Definitely. Like it could absolutely be psychosomatic. I couldn't find anything that was saying like this is what this is. But nevertheless, there's this community that feels like they need to drink blood, and they do. And there's this sociologist named Williams at the Idaho State University who also worked with real vampires from a sociological standpoint and reports finding no evidence of psychiatric issues within real vampires. So we don't really know. But ultimately, vampires are normal people. When Browning set out to do his research, he assumed that vampires were crazy. But what he discovered was that vampires weren't any crazier than the average Joe.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
If I would have heard about this when I was in like, prime time to be a vampire, I think I'd be a vampire right now.
Oh, same. I would absolutely want to be a vampire.
When is prime time? Like 15?
No. Like 12.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right before puberty, and then you hit puberty, and you're like, I'm definitely a vampire.
I suddenly crave blood.
Yeah. I crave blood. I'm mad all the time. I want to sleep all day, and I'm very emotional.
Yeah. And then you bite your lip, and it all makes sense.
Yeah, you bite your lip to be like sexy for this like guy with a bowl cut in 7th grade math, and you're like, I'm a vampire. At least that's how it happened for me.
The bowl cut. I miss it.
Yeah. The Bieber cut. It's not even a bowl cut for our generation. It's the Bieber
Bieb.
cut. Yeah. The Biebs.
It was like a swishy bowl cut. Like if you had a bowl cut and you just like flipped your hair.
Yeah. Like if you had a bowl cut and then you needed another haircut, but for some reason you didn't go and you fast forward 2 weeks, like it's a 2-week overgrown bowl cut, I think. Maybe 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But not shaggy, but borderline. It's the Biebs.
It's the Biebs. So
we're on topic.
We're on topic.
Things are going well. Thanks for asking.
Things are going really well. And my lesson went really fast. So vampires, specifically the one in New Orleans, are very active in community service work, especially with the homeless population. They highly value consent and safety when it comes to their feeding.
Love that so much.
Love it. And ultimately, they're not doing harm to themselves or others. So, let people live their lives.
Yes. Let people have their own things.
Yeah. And they really have their own thing. Browning concludes, I have a couple quotes from him. The first quote says, quote, "I found what the real vampire identity ultimately achieves is a measure of self-empowerment. It comes from something I've termed deviant culture, and it manifests itself in other marginalized communities in the world over. Real vampirism is a way for people who might not fit into normal societal boxes to construct an identity and face a world that frequently shuns more than it embraces."
Yeah, so true.
And finally, quote, "In the glamorous world of Hollywood, as indeed in real life, we fear dark places. We fear the unknown. But for these vampires, there is safety in the shadows. It's anonymity. Perhaps their supposedly grim nature is simply a reflection of our own darkness."
Ooh.
And happy Halloween, everybody. That's my lesson.
Wow. Love it.
It was
Happy
short and
Halloween.
sweet. Happy Halloween. Get your candy.
Get your candy on. Get sugar. Get blood.
Eat all of it.
Get disco.
Ooh, yeah. Raise your blood sugar. Get disco.
Raise your blood sugar. Dance it off at the disco in your own home with a mask.
Yeah. Don't go anywhere this Halloween.
Because there is a pandemic going on.
There is a pandemic and it is just getting worse.
Quarantine and happy Halloween.
Quarantine, happy Halloween. If you enjoy this podcast, please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts. Tell a friend about us. Rate, review, and follow us on social media. Maybe visit Patreon. We love you. Thank you. And 3, 2, 1, class dismissed.